Take two.
Two.
Oh, two.
That's four.
Oh,
Two.
take two. Excuse me. So, thanks to our children, this is why we try to get up and record stuff. But we also want to show you guys that this is real life for us. So, no fluff over here, anything. We're not trying to be perfect or professional. This is real life. We want to show that we are real people. So, we're here to tell you why we started Fearless Money Workshops and why we started Fearless Money Solutions. Our personal story is that we know how it is to just not have money. We know how it is to not communicate about money. We know how it is to have a repossession. We know how it is to not have the proper insurance in situations. We know how it is to have horrible credit. We know how it is to be in situations where we've needed an attorney, but because we couldn't afford an attorney for $200 or $300 an hour, we just let things go, not realizing that it's actually causing things to become more expensive for us.
Yeah.
It's actually created a lifestyle that even though we were already in a bad situation financially, it was putting us in more and more debt, and it was causing us to live a more expensive lifestyle. And I'm sure that you've heard that, like, not having good credit causes you to have to pay more, higher interest rates. It's harder to get things, higher payments.
Right. Even jobs, man. You got
Yep.
jobs now, which I don't understand what credit has to do with a job, but I mean, we're not in that situation with jobs, but it's tough.
It's tough, yeah. Like your credit, your financial life. I mean, they check your credit to see how they kind of determine who you are by checking your credit report. So sometimes when you be denied for a job, you might know that you're a good person, but because they look at your credit report, you've made some mistakes in the past, you get denied,
Right.
which is not fair. But it's the world we're living in, and it's going to do nothing but get worse. So we're here to educate and to help people prepare. We're doing this together because we kind of got here together. So we're working together to get each other out. We're accountability. It's like, I got you here, so I got to help you get out of it. It's kind of like that type of thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
So Fearless Money Workshop, that's where that stems from. I just felt this desire to educate people because first off, I'm an insurance agent, and I've experienced family losing family members without having the proper life insurance. This guy right here has been in many situations with his previous job where we didn't have disability insurance in place. So because of him stapling his finger at work more than once, how many times?
3 times.
3 times he stapled his finger at work. And we're not talking little paper staples.
No.
We talking machine
Like
gun.
pneumatic tools, air guns.
Air gun.
With a lot of pressure.
Gun. Air gun pressure going in his finger 3 times. And even after the first time, we did not put ourselves in a situation to be prepared for if it happened again. So it happened 3 times.
And it did. A year exactly, the same day, August 13th, a year apart. I will never forget that. An exact year later.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So not learning from the first lesson, we weren't prepared the second time or the third time.
Right.
And at the time, he was the main income. So because he had to be out of work for, I think the longest it was a week, because he couldn't use that hand. That was, the hand he needed his hands for his job. I think the longest time he went was a week. So if you're not working, what happens?
Well,
no money.
No money. I mean, that's the downside of linear income.
Yep.
So when you stop working, your income stops working. So, you got to have those backup plans where you're having it leveraged and residual income is coming in some type of way through some type of side hustle or some other thing you have going on. But yeah, at the time that wasn't the case. So we've learned.
Yep, we've learned, but it
Oh,
took us a
great.
long time to learn. It took us a long time to learn.
Yeah.
So that shows where like we weren't prepared to do things financially. And I think being prepared, having yourself in a position to fall back on a cushion if something happens is important in your financial life. And we've had times where we had money, but we weren't saving, we weren't planning to do
Right.
things with this extra money. Like, it all goes back to not being prepared and what happens when you are in a situation where preparation would have been key.
Right. Communication.
Communication. We didn't have great communication skills when it came to money. We didn't have the same mindset when it came to money. We never talked about it, really.
I think that's the case in most marriages, especially young marriages like us, the millennials. It's a tough thing to talk about because you don't know how to talk about it, especially, you know, I know there's many diverse people going to be watching this, but those that are in the black community, you know, you probably can relate because we're not passed down these, I guess you can say these are, you know, legacies of educating your family members in generations of generations, you know, and we're not taught these things. So if our parents weren't taught and then they're not teaching us, you know, so we're stuck in a situation where when something arises, we don't know what to do because only education that we've gotten is from school. And we all know they're not teaching anything about money in school.
No.
And so you have to learn these things, you know, if you're not coming from a line of understanding of it, you know, and it's tough when you're the generation that has to start it, you know, and so we're trying to make sure we learn it now. When our kids get older, you know, we can teach it to them, and then they continue that on through our grands and stuff like that, you know.
And we don't want our kids to have to wait until they're in their 30s like us,
Right.
to want to get their money together. And going back to what you said about what we've, like, the thing is, we pick up money skills from our parents or whoever we're around growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what type of money skills.
Right.
So for me, just to be really quick, my parents are, well, my dad is a spender. Has always been a spender.
But he's always had the income coming like that.
Yes, but, you know, not blasting, but they never really sat me down to teach me money skills. So I saw a lot of spending growing up. I had a nice allowance. Like, I'm in middle school getting like $100 a week for allowance. That was a lot.
Yeah, especially back then.
In middle school, getting $100 a week allowance, or whatever I would go to my dad for, he would pretty much get it for me. So that's how I grew up. So that in adulthood can turn into entitlement.
Yeah.
Because I grew up that way, because I could go to my dad about anything. Like, you know, back then, the nanos and Tamagotchis and things, and gel pens, and just anything. If I go to my dad and be like, I want this, or even he would come to me with stuff, buy me flat screens and the latest cell phone, and I always had a nice car, you know, like in high school. So in adulthood, it turned into entitlement.
Right.
So I think just Fearless Money Workshop is all about awareness, and that it's way deeper than what word am I looking for? It's way deeper than we really think. And because our community is not educated, you really have nobody teaching them to get deep and become aware of why they're in the financial situation they're in, why they can't make money, why they're always broke, why are you always spending? Like, it's things that stem from childhood and stuff like that. So
it's basically a generational curse.
yeah.
And you got to learn to just pray to sever that. Anything that came through that umbilical cord, you know, those curses, you know, it's spiritual.
It's spiritual too. It can get
It's very spiritual.
It can get very spiritual,
Because the
but
Bible does talk
that's
much.
A little.
I know.
That's
you
deep.
know where
That's
I'm
a
gonna
whole nother thing.
All right. We're
That's
gonna
a
try
whole
not to
nother
go
video.
that way. 'Cause
We
I
will get that deep, but saying, going back to that too, I know in my family it does go that deep to seeds that were planted way back when, and it goes from generation to generation to generation.
Right.
So Fearless Money Workshop is just not, oh, I'm just educating you, but we're getting spiritual, because it is all about teaching the biblical principles of finances as well, because we all know that we're not supposed to be in debt.
Right.
We're not supposed to
be in lack.
and we're definitely not supposed to lack. If you're a follower of Christ, you're not supposed to lack, and be broke and be in poverty and stuff like that. Like, we weren't created to be that way, but because of society and man and so many things that have been planted throughout history, people get in that mindset, and people get in holes and feel like that they can't get out. So Fearless Money Solutions is where we offer the services. We offer credit repair, we offer legal services, and we offer insurance services. It's not about selling, it's all about serving. All we want to do is help people set the foundation to be
basically educated.
Educated.
I mean, it's more about educating first, because I know for what we're trying to do, like she said, it's not about the sale. It's, we're trying to break some ties, especially in our community, because I know so many people personally, just my family and friends alone, I know they could use these services, but ego or pride or whatever.
They know us.
Yeah, it's, oh, I know who you are, and where you come from, and they don't see us as doing what we're doing. They only know us from whatever we came from. So it can be tough, but we're just here to educate. I mean, even if you don't use services from us, and you go elsewhere, but we educated you on the fact of how important insurances can be, because we see it too many times where people know they need insurance, but they wait until a loved one passed, and now you're GoFunding me, which is, everybody's meal ticket now, or you're doing a fish fry or a car wash just to bury someone, and then you're probably still coming up short. These things are important, and we're just trying to educate people, especially, and then you have a lot of people that are, this day and age where, I guess the economy is getting back on its feet, and people are trying to step up and get more into small businesses and stuff like that. And that's why we're offering, the legal services for not just small businesses, but, individuals and families as well, because another one of those meal ticket things this day and age is, everybody is so happy now. Everybody wants to, you step on my shoe and I'm going to sue you now, and then why not be prepared if, this can be very, you're in a situation where it's now affordable. It's not $200-$300 an hour, depending upon the city or state that you live in. It can be very expensive, and we're just trying to put people up on game, if you will, and how they can, better their situation and be more prepared. Because, like we said in the beginning, this transparency is coming forth because we simply were not prepared for a lot of things. And had we known of or had the services that we're now offering available to us at the time when we were in certain situations, we would be so much better off. We would not have the debt that we have. We would not have lost some of the things that we lost. So, I mean, yeah, it's more about educating and look past who you're seeing. If that's the case, just hear the information about, and receive what's coming forth, because whoever you are, just as well as we know that it's very beneficial to you, and you could really use what we have to offer.
Yep. So, like he said, it's coming from a personal place and a place of serving. Like, we're not trying to sell. We just want to help people, especially married couples, because we got here together pretty much.
Yeah.
To help married couples avoid what we've been through, especially young people, like younger. We're in our 30s, early 30s.
Right.
So, just young people avoid the things that we've been through. Say for instance, like the legal services, the reason we feel that it's important because we've been through situations because we were uneducated and unprepared. We have been we almost got sued by the
lady.
No, the loan company. I'm not gonna say the name, but where we had to go to court to pay back a loan. Then they tried to come back and garnish our wages and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for the legal services that we have right now, we wouldn't be able to do anything because we couldn't afford an attorney. But now we have access to an attorney. We can pick up the phone and call an attorney and ask this question or that question and what should we do and get guidance. And they could possibly send out a letter for us now. And we can actually afford to do that.
Not possibly. They will. And make phone calls if need be.
Yes. And a lot of people, honestly, I never thought that I would ever be able to say I have an attorney.
I know. Because it seems like something that
for the
wealthy, or the drug dealer would, something they would try to use or utilize and have something like that on the ready. But we all are buying cars. We're all signing lease agreements or mortgages. And at some point in your life, you're going to feel like, I just signed something that I really felt like I didn't take time because it was a rush, which we did that with the car situation. And we may give a snippet of that scenario, but you may be everybody's going to be in a situation where you have felt like, I need somebody that's knowledgeable about what's going on, and I just don't know what to do. And you felt like you need to consult with an attorney about a certain situation, but you're afraid because the cost that it could be just for a consultation. You have attorneys that are really charging, even if it could be a small fee, is something like $15, $20 an hour, but that's a whole lot, just for me to ask you a couple questions, because we could be on the phone for, even if it's just 1 hour, but 15 minutes for an hour, that's a lot of money. Whereas, what we're offering, you're paying that for unlimited consultations. It's like almost a no-brainer.
And we're not rich. We're not wealthy. We don't have money right now to pay for an attorney for $300 and $400 or an hour. We don't have money like that. But to know that there is something out there that we can access and be able to afford is good. Like, we don't want to experience the things that we've been through, so we're putting ourselves in a position to where we won't have to go through or repeat those things anymore. With the car situation, like he was saying, so we went in the dealership, but know that this is where our mindset was at.
Her mindset was at.
This is where our mindset was at, because when I tell you, like, I always constantly complain. We had one car for a long time. Like, we shared one car for a long time. And as we added more and more children, we realized that we needed another vehicle. And not just that, like, he needed to go separate ways, I need to go separate ways. But having one car was and is difficult at times. Yes. So we went in the dealership for an oil change. And we left the dealership with 2 cars.
2 cars.
Knowing that,
guys, I'm just the man. I have to.
No.
Or I won't be happy.
No, because it showed where mindset was and communication was and stuff like that. But just that was a weakness right at that time, it was like,
Yeah,
man,
but
we want another car.
I dreaded it, and I was like, "Wait, we not come here for this.
So
This
why
is."
didn't you speak up then?
Yeah,
see,
I did,
see what I'm
but,
saying? So
I mean,
communication is important because just
the
because
woman
he
is
said
very powerful.
he
We all
wanted to
know
please me, but I would have understood. I might have walked out of the dealership and would have been like, see, we could have had 2 cars and blah 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 blah, but
Yeah.
we would have avoided a lot of the things that
That's true.
we had been through.
That's
So just at that time, we were at a place where I had been complaining about having 2 cars and stuff like that. He was still working the good job with the good money, like we were saying. So we felt that we could afford to have 2 cars. But the way the situation went down is that we left the dealership with 2 cars, and probably a month later, he had to take his car back. And the way that they got us is so crazy. And I think that they knew, but because we were uneducated, they got
and
us.
fasting.
We got
you
us
know,
on the hook.
You know, we really didn't review contracts properly either. So it was.
But the main thing is that we didn't go in there for a car. We went in there
Right.
for an oil change, and we traded in our car that we were almost done paying for. We had like $3,000 left on the car, and we went in there, fell in a trap, and left with 2 cars. So not only that,
Brand new car, 3 miles on the car. So a huge loan versus
a
$3,000.
huge loan versus $3,000 being left on 1 car. We ended up trading in our car that we had $3,000 left on, and a month later, he ended up having to take his car back, and we found out that they had already locked in the contract for the brand new car. So we were just stuck. Like, we wanted to get our love back, our car back.
Coke.
We wanted to get our car back, and it was just too late because they had unlocked in the contract, and plus we had to return 1 car. Right. So you have to be careful when you go to these dealerships, because if you're not educated, and plus if you're in a place, you have to be aware of yourself too financially, because if you're in a place where you're weak and you can fall into something as easily as we did, that's how you set yourself up. Because not only that, a year later, we fell behind on the payments. Wait, we had just got it. We had just got the 2 new cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or were we already here?
No. We
wasn't. Yeah, we wasn't.
Because we ended up
were in our apartment.
Yeah. Then
we were in our apartment.
And all this stuff.
So not only did we...
We're on that one quite a while. So we got it, because we were to make this video short and not give a whole.
But we're
story.
telling our story too.
Yeah, little. I mean, it's supposed to be little.
Okay.
Snippets of.
Okay,
different
so
scenarios.
Long story short, it'll be
important.
another video then where we'll talk specifically about different situations that we've been in. But long story short is we went to the dealership for an oil change, left with 2 cars. A month later, we had to take 1 back. And when I didn't want to keep the brand new car, they had already locked us in, because, I mean, they had us set up, but we couldn't see what was going on. So...
Well, the thing was that we were told that the trade, half was going as a down payment to one car, and half was going to the other. And they put the whole down payment, the trade, onto one car.
Yeah.
So for a month, it was like a month and a half. It was about 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It was like for a month and a half, they kept calling us like, hey, can you come back in? We got a new agreement we want to do. Then they lowered the payment on the other car. And what they were doing was they were trying to wing it, hoping that a bank, but this is partially a story of how important credit is, and also the importance of having legal services, because how they got us, you know, and we had an attorney to come at them with what they did to us. But you know, credit-wise, you know, the bank, they were trying to wing it and hoping that a bank would pick up the other loan with no down payment. You see, because we walked out with only a down payment for 1 car.
Yeah.
And they were hoping a bank would pick it up, but no bank wouldn't, because at the time our credit was pretty shot, you know, and it was pretty, you know, down.
It wasn't
and
shot.
it wasn't
we
shot. It
were
wasn't
in a good place.
Yeah, it wasn't
that
nothing. Our credit's never really been that bad. It's mostly been just, you know, school loans, typical stuff.
Yeah, we were in a good place with our
stuff.
credit. Actually, we were the average, and
But it was the fact of 2 cars and the one huge income for me, and yours was very minimal. So they're looking at that debt to income ratio.
Yeah,
so
that too. But So because it for like 6 weeks, that mean they kept running our credit.
Yeah, they ran it 1,000
So many
times, and we
times.
told them not to do
So-
that. We were told the financing guy specifically, like, hey, run it this X amount of times, and if it doesn't work, then hey, it doesn't work. And after we come back and 2 or 3 different occasions, and then finally on the last day, it was like, hey, after about after it was like the last week, a few days, like 2 or 3 days before they asked us to return it, then it was like, hey, you got $1,500. If you got $1,500 today, by the end of the day, you can keep the car. Otherwise, you got to bring it back.
And we did not have $1,500,
Right.
And we did not have anybody
Not
give
on
a
the
call for
ready
$1,500.
at the time,
Yeah,
right.
not at the time. So not only that, that shows that we didn't have a reserve. Like we didn't have a savings, we didn't have an emergency fund. Like there's so much stuff that stems out of all the situations that we've been in. So
And
that's why we're here.
We're educating.
We're educating and helping people avoid what we've been through.
Yeah.
We needed legal services at the time. We couldn't afford that or call anybody. Of course, our credit, that put our, like, just running our credit so many times made it go down. And then we went through all of that, and I held on to regret for a long time, like just letting go of our car that we was almost done paying for.
I miss my baby.
Yep.
I still think about her. I do.
So it's a learning lesson. I've learned to
It is.
absorb that loss now instead of complaining about it because it's the past.
Moving right on along to the next story. We've been on that one too long. But
We'll do
brief
another
story.
video about that
Yeah.
one though.
Brief story. Yeah, because this is, like you said, these workshops are basically to just kind of educate. And so there'll be more stories or education to come. But another story was with the apartment where we were and how important, legal, since we're on legal services, and then we'll move on to how important insurance is or, something else. But we were in a situation where we had to leave, our apartment, and we weren't evicted. We've never had evictions, but we've broken leases early twice.
In a good place though.
In a
like,
good
we
place,
paid
yeah.
the fees and
Right,
stuff to
the
move
last
early.
one. Right.
Yeah.
And then at that time, so of course there's an early termination fee, but the complex where we were, they tried to get us because they had, apartment was clean, we didn't have any mess, so there was no fee of that. It was a scenario where it was like 3 or 4 different charges, and I understood the taxes, and the termination fee was about $700 and something, almost $800. And then they tried to just basically reword early termination with some other big word jargon, and it was like almost the same fee again. So they're trying to double charge us for breaking the lease early. And that was the importance of having the legal services, to have an attorney contact them, write them, and call them on our behalf. Whereas, if we were to continue to keep coming at them, collection agents, which most of you already know, collection people can call you all day long and you can explain your hardship all day long to them. Nothing's going to happen. But if you have an attorney on your side, making these phone calls and sending these letters out on your behalf with their letterhead, it is very significant. It is absolutely the best thing that can happen to you, and you'll understand why should you get a service such as what we're talking about. But man, it's very, very important. But yeah, that was like, they were really trying to get us, they trying to jig us, and it was like, no, you can't do this. You can't charge me 2 times for the same exact thing, just try to reword it. No, I'm not gonna, you can't do that, and I'm not gonna let that fly. So.
And most of you know that when you move out of apartment complex and you leave owing them money, it's hard to move anywhere else, like move to another apartment complex. And that's our situation now because we're trying to move and because we're still fighting this situation from 2 years ago almost.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't.
Almost 2 years ago. Next month will be 2 years.
Yeah, right.
Almost 2 years ago, we're having an issue with that. Now we're fighting, trying to get this stuff removed from our credit. So until that happens, we have to put a big limit on where we can live.
And that sucks.
And that
because
sucks. It really does.
we're both kind of picky. I don't want to be just anywhere, and she doesn't want to just
Yeah.
be anywhere. I know you have. If that's your preference, then that's your preference. But I'm not just going to put my family any and everywhere just because rent is low or buying a home, the mortgage will be very low and the neighborhood is crappy. I do not believe in that. She does not believe in that. We do not come from those backgrounds, so it's tough.
It's tough. It's tough to find a place where we can go because we're having a hard time disputing this problem, which goes to our credit repair.
Right.
So now we have that in place where we have someone working on our behalf to repair our credit. I've been in a situation for at least the past year where I've been trying to do it myself. Some people are just not gifted in those areas to fix credit on their own.
Right.
I like to get a lot of knowledge and wisdom and stuff, but when it comes to credit repair, it's very extensive. Not saying I haven't learned anything, but to sit down and try to do everything and write all these dispute letters on my own, I can do it, but if I can delegate that task to an expert for a good amount of money a month, I'm going to do that. So that's what I did. Now I'm educated about credit repair and things like that, but I've decided to delegate that task because it works out better for me.
Right.
So some people are like that because once you sit down and you start to look at your credit report, if you're like me, you get overwhelmed. Because I'd be like, oh my gosh, you get discouraged and you start to think about the past and all kind of stuff, like just all kind of stuff start happening. You get discouraged and then you put the papers down and you won't look at it for another month. Then you be like, oh, I need to work on my credit. Right. And that's a month that done went by. So if you feel like you're in that place, just sacrifice. And
it's not even a sacrifice.
A lot of people don't see it that way though. But a lot of people don't. They look at it as a sacrifice. Like, oh my God, I got to sacrifice this amount of money to pay somebody. I'm not going to pay anybody. I can do this myself. And then here you are 5 months later, haven't done anything with your credit at all. So 5 months ago, you could have said, okay, I'm just going to sacrifice buying this for a month, for 6 months, so I can get my credit together so I can buy this house in January 2018 or whatever. Like, that's our goal. We've been in situations where we've looked at plenty of houses. We love to do that. We know what we want. We know what we like. And we've even seen houses that we would love to buy right now. But we have to give it some time. So if you left it up to me trying to repair our credit, you have someone that's not really interested because he gets overwhelmed. And you have somebody that realizes that that's not my area. Our goal is to buy a house next year, beginning of next year. So we knew that it was time for us to sacrifice, or not necessarily sacrifice like he's saying, just discipline ourselves and commit and find that, make sure we have that money every month to have this done. So when 2018 rolls around, we can be purchasing a house. So I think we've gone 33 minutes.
Well,
33 minutes.
Oh, well.
So we have a lot more stories and a lot more video where we're going to get deeper about our situation because we just want people to understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, more into insurances and stuff like that.
Yeah, more into insurance and everything like that.
A lot of you smokers and drinkers out there, what you're spending could be a policy because what you're spending on your habits is only taking you closer to the grave faster. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize that what you're spending could, benefit your loved ones later on down the line. Yeah. And yourself as well, depending on, the route you go, what policies you do, if they're building up any cash value or anything like that. But yeah.
We also want you to know that life insurance is not all about death benefits either.
Yeah, it's actually not.
There's living benefits to life insurance. Like for instance, it can be a savings account, a savings vehicle for you for retirement or to save up some money for when your kids turn 18. Like life insurance is not all about death benefits these days. There's living benefits to it. So we'll get deeper into that as well. I think that's it. We went long enough, 35 minutes on this video. So we have a lot more things to talk about just to share why we're doing what we're doing. And we're serving, and we believe that we serve a a God that is all about abundance and order and
Yeah.
discipline
Absolutely.
and preparation.
Absolutely.
And we know that God gives us the freedom to choose, and we're here today because we've had some circumstances that
We chose bad, and now
reflects
we're
our
choosing
decisions.
wisely. You know,
Yep.
we're trying to turn it around, and we're trying to bring people along this journey. You know, and it's very tedious. It can be very tedious, but you know, you
Requires
just have
patience
to, yeah,
and
a
being
lot of patience
humble.
and being humble, and you have to just press on. But
And as a
we're doing
married
it.
couple, it requires a lot of patience. Like,
Yeah.
requires a lot of patience.
Yeah, because a lot of this, which we said in take one, you know, a lot of this really began when we got married. You know, most of our trials and turmoil and issues, you know, we've been together almost 16 years now. It's my high school sweetheart. You get that love, girl. So almost 16 years now, but 6 years married, and in like a few more months, it'll be 6 years married. And
Yeah.
most of this has really, you know, the enemy brought this on once we got married. And I mean, we've had our issues, and you know, we had different things going to our reports and stuff like that as boyfriend and girlfriend. But you know, the enemy attacks
The
marriages.
hardship really came when we got
shout out
married.
to for
The
anybody
Marriage Remix.
the marriage remix. You guys have to follow this on Facebook.
The Marriage
Pastor
Remix.
LaShonda Jones and Sean Jones are doing an awesome job with educating people and answering questions that you may have. They're coming from personal experience. They're biblical principles about marriages and stuff like that. But yeah, the marriage remix, you know, I want to shout that out there to you guys. Big ups to you guys for doing that. Which is also, throw this out there too. Today is what, Tuesday, the 13th. So it'll be the 14th. Thursday is their next episode, 10 o'clock. So you guys do not miss it.
Live on
It is
Facebook.
live on Facebook.
Yep.
But also, I mean, well, I was saying that to say, because, you know, the enemy attacks marriages in a way that you would not believe. And of course, he's going to come after your finances, because the finances can tear apart. You know, it can create
That's the
a
number
lot
one
of,
thing that separates
right.
marriages.
Yeah, it is
Number one
studied to
thing.
be.
Yep.
Yeah, so he will do that. And if you're, you know, we don't want to put everything on the enemy, because sometimes it's us, you know, but a lot of things are stemmed off of the influence of, you know, just
Yeah,
background and mindset
it's a
and
lot.
stuff like that.
It gets
So
really deep, like we said. It gets
Yeah.
really deep, and I think that's the direction that I want to take for like this whole Fearless Money Solutions and Workshop in, because it's deeper than what we think. You can't just be like, overnight I'm going to pay off my debts, because it's not that easy. Like, you have to make sure mentally you're there, emotionally you're there, spiritually you're there. It requires a lot more than you think. And for us, like, we'll say one day we'll come in agreement and say, okay, we're gonna start working on our credit, or we're gonna pay off this debt. A week later, it's not even being brought up anymore. That's how things work. Like, soon as we'll come in agreement on something, things start happening. There'll be arguments, and there'll be misunderstandings and stuff like that.
and that's the way he attacks.
That's the way it always works. So this is the awareness. This is the awareness. So we're going to cut it right
Yeah.
here.
We have to.
40 minutes.
It's okay.
We're going to cut it here. I hope you've made it this far in the video, because like I said, we have a testimony. We have a story, and I believe that Fearless Money Workshop is going to be our testimony. I really believe that in my heart, that this is going to be our testimony, because we have a story. Like I said, we've been through things, and this is the restoration, and this is it's about being fearless about what you're trying to do in your life. Because if you're approaching things with fear, even your finances, you can't do anything about it if you going into it with the mindset of being fearful or feeling afraid of how things are going to work out, because you're trying to fix your money. We are put on this earth to be abundant. We're not supposed to lack. We're not supposed to depend on the government. The government is not God. So, you know, if you believe in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, and you keep God first, then everything will work out.
Absolutely.
So this is just the beginning for us.
This is the beginning of the revival.
Yes, the beginning of the revival. Yep.
Revival. I want a revival in my soul. I want a revival in my soul. I must come to the love of Jesus. I want a revival in my soul. Oh, send down the rain.
The money.
Send down the rain. All right, that's the end of the video. But until the next time, and here comes the baby.
Here
We
comes the
actually
baby.
made it, one of them.
Come on.
Come on, baby.
So until next time, we will see you guys. Another video is coming soon, and I promise it will not be. It'll be in the next 3 days.
Give me a kid.
Say hi.
Hi.
Don't look at her head.
Say peace. See you guys.